Hello and welcome to Raising Excellence. My name is Agnieszka and I am joined today by Michael, Dennis, and Deirdre. We're going to be talking about harnessing the power of the present moment, and this discussion today will be led by Dennis. Hi, Dennis.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I am good.
Glad to be with all of you and glad to be here, glad to be present with you. Are you here? Are you present?
Present
Yes,
and
I
accounted
am
for.
present.
It reminds me of many years ago, when coming to school and the first thing in the morning is the teacher asks, are you present? Are you here? And hooks off your name, just to ensure that you enter the building. And then but then I always thought, well, like a part of me is here, my physical is here. I'm sitting here, obviously, but I can't guarantee that all of who I am is going to be here for the rest of the day with you. And then I think oftentimes that would have not been the case, actually. So when I think about the power of the presence and being present, it's a, yeah, I often think of, I like to see us as holistic beings, as being more than just the physical. So I'd like to ensure that me, my client, my family, the people I interact with in the moment are here. Not only physically, but that they're here also emotionally, intellectually, and even spiritually. Sometimes I don't know if you've noticed, like recently or in recent years, sitting on the bus, walking in the streets, and you look left and right, and the feeling overcomes me that sometimes I'm one of the very few left that are actually looking up from their devices, that are even the ones that are looking up oftentimes seem to be caught up in the past, in mourning the past and the things that did go wrong yesterday and last year and 10 and 20 years ago when they were a little child, or that are lost in worries about the future. But very few people are able to be in the moment and to remain in the moment. And so what do you guys do? Do you have any particular strategies to remain in the moment? Do you have anything uh, that reminds you to be present? How do you ensure that when you're with your loved ones, when you're with your friends, with your clients, when you're out in the street, when you're at your workplace, how do you ensure that it's not just your physical body sitting around, but your mind is gone to the past or gone to the future, and you're caught up in the hustle and bustle and the worries of day by day living? Do you have any strategies, any ideas how you ensure that you're present?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a psychosomatic therapist, right? And in psychosomatic therapy, that's the analysis of the body, and it includes face reading and body analysis. Basically, how your muscle structure is a reflection of your thought patterns. So in psychosomatic therapy, where we talk a lot about the body and being present in the body and being aware of the body and seeing the balance in the body and striving for balance in the body, when we're not in the present moment, what we say is we're out of our body. You were not in your body at the time. So you go to the grocery store and you're buying tomatoes or buying oranges, and you come home and you look and they're all like green and one of them is half rotten. Why would you buy these tomatoes that were not ripe? Because you're not in your body. You're going on autopilot. You're not paying attention to what you're doing. And same with falling or tripping or things like that. Often it's caused because somebody's so in their mind, so in the future inside their mind, that they're not actually realizing that they're in the present moment at all.
Hmm. That word that you said, autopilot, like it's sparked. It came up with me right away when you were describing that.
Mm-hmm.
So so it's like, how can we come out of autopilot? Because it's when we're on autopilot, that really means, it translates to me that we live in the past, because we run by patterns, by things that we used to do a certain way, and we just keep on doing it without being really conscious. So how can we raise the level of consciousness that we have, that that we act consciously and that we act mindful. Mind is still important to have, and mind has its place, I would dare to say, but it's yeah, and then mindful maybe is even the wrong word, because maybe our mind should not be full, because maybe we should just be able to empty our mind and Yeah, because is mind actually needed to, you know, to be present, or is it something bigger than mind that actually comes out in a moment?
I thought that mindful referred to fully using your full mind for the one task. Like you're
Mm.
not, because normally we're fractured or fragmented, and where you, like, you're brushing your teeth, you're thinking about putting the children to bed, and at the same time your wife is talking to you about what you're going to make for dinner tomorrow, and there's all these things going on at the same time, and we have to sort of split our attention often.
Nice. I like
So
that perspective, Monica.
how would I do that? If I was brushing my teeth, you're talking about what it isn't. So what would it be if I was brushing my teeth? That would be focusing on every little brush. Is that
Yeah, just what you were saying, that would be mindfulness. Being in your
Mm.
body would be just simply paying attention to your toilet routine, like brushing your hair, actually being present and fully doing it and paying attention to just that instead of allowing your mind to wander. But fully mindful would be like the thing that you do with your shower, Deirdre, where you're focusing on every droplet and everything is like, so I guess those are two
I did?
different levels of mindfulness.
Mm.
I tried something different the other day. I tried to isolate noises, the sounds, the different sounds. So there's the droplets, then there's the gurgling of the drain, and what are other sounds? So there's the droplets, the gurgling of the drain, and it had like this other softer kind ofness. And I don't know, it must have been maybe the water droplets. Not so there was ones coming out of the shower, and there's the ones hitting the base of the shower. They were different sounds. It was fun. I actually had fun doing it.
Nice. So basically, you're saying that there is a possibility of entering the now, of entering the present moment by through the senses. So through our hearing, tasting, as an example, we're able to enter the moment that is right now. That reminds me of some meditation techniques where you would probably close your eyes and just focus on the hearing, where you then center within and focus on something that all of us are doing every moment of our life, which is breathing, for example, which is another way of coming, another possibility of coming into the moment. Do you have any experience with being present, or do you have any strategies of staying in the presence, Michael?
Yeah, well, I was actually going to kind of comment on what Agnieszka had said about the kind of the process that our mind goes through, because our brain uh, takes up quite a bit of the energy of the body, and it's a very small portion of it. So it's always trying to save energy, and how it does that is kind of those subconscious routines that we go through, and so it's kind of like it's kind of set towards falling into those what I would call trances that are the repetition of doing things during the day and so forth, so that our mind can use less energy. And so I would call those kind of subconscious routines. But I do believe, like what you said, is breathing is probably the primary one for me. Focusing on my breathing to get myself back to the presence, to the present, is really very effective. There's a book called The Art of Communication, and it talks about that very thing as being the way to kind of set yourself up when you're communicating with other people to get yourself in the present moment, is to focus on your breathing and step back and take 5 or 10 seconds. And I think one of the things with like meditation and a lot of other things, the more that you practice it, the more you kind of set yourself up to become a really good expert at doing what you want. And certainly being present is one in which, if you practice it regularly, you can become very good at it.
True. I fully subscribe to that. And so getting into the habit of being present and of being, maybe also intuitive, there's freedom in that, isn't it? Because it means that you're not caught up, that you're not bound by reacting according to the patterns and to the ways that you have been reacting all your life, or the last time in the last few months or years. But there's freedom in that, because you have the freedom to really choose, and to consciously choose in which way you not only react, but you also will act. And that really puts, I think that the word even, the power of the presence, which is how we started out, like that really puts the power in your hand, or that reminds us about the power that we really have to not only react but to act in the moment. And I was just reminded of capoeira, as that's something I love and I teach as well. And this it has been pointed out by me so many times, when there's somebody recording or taking a video of me playing capoeira and doing like the physical movements, interacting with somebody else, exchanging kicks and attacks and acrobatic movements. And then if I would look at myself, I was like, oh, but I'm doing the same thing all over again. It's the same way I enter, I'm doing the same combination of kicks. And so again, it's like, whoa, how. And then of course, I start thinking like, oh, if I can see that, maybe somebody else saw that as well, and then they study me and then they can predict what I'm doing. And then that makes you easily controllable as well, because it makes you predictable. And it's like, oh, let me change this, because I'm like most of the time it seems in that game, for those 2-3 minutes, I've been repeating a few things. Every time the other guy does a certain attack, I keep on reacting the same way, I do the same defense. So that is like that caused like a moment of awareness for myself, like catching myself doing repetitive things and doing patterns, which is natural as well, because you would train certain movements and certain repetitive combinations. You would train that, but then once you would have trained them, then the idea is to put them in the game. And but then also, because it's like a way of learning, right? Like you have to learn, you put one foot in front of the other one, or you step on the bicycle as a child and you have to do like a repetitive movement to get going. But then once you would have acquired a certain stage, okay, I'm good with walking right now, maybe today I'm walking fast, tomorrow I'm walking slow, I want to do a run after tomorrow. So that you then consciously can decide how fast you want to go, where you want to go, and that you don't lose the awareness of the moment, of the wonder of your legs, making footsteps and moving ahead and moving in different directions. So maybe one of the secrets also lies in the fact that we acquire new patterns or new ways of moving, of thinking, of acting, but that once we have acquired them, that we remember that it's that the secret is actually not having to adhere to them, but that this is just like how we learn to get up. This is how to learn how to walk, how to drive our car, drive our bicycle, but then that we're not getting lost into those patterns, but that we then actually gain the security, so to say, of, okay, I can drive now, and if something happens, then I will stop, or I will go fast, I will go slower, so that we actually reconnect again with the present moment. And that maybe the patterns are just like something that helps us to stand up or to walk for a little while, and then we just like a walking stick or so, and then okay, I can walk without the stick, and we'll leave it aside the road until maybe we pick it up again, or we pick it up for another period of time. But that we don't have to hold on to those how do you call the walking sticks for people that are
cane,
limping? Yeah, for
or
like for a cane or
crutches.
so. Yeah, crutches. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
What about what about when you're trying to converse with other people? How can we get them in the present moment? Have you got any techniques or thoughts on that particular thing? How do you gain people's attention and get them to step into the present?
You mean through
Maybe they're
mind
not.
control? Woo! No?
Well, lacking mind control. What about some simple techniques that maybe can kind of snap people into
Magic.
a glass of water
breaking through their.
that helps in traumatic situations. Like I heard about that and I tried it out, and one time it didn't do anything at all, but the other time it actually helped. Like when there's a
Offer 'em
child
a
or maybe
glass of
even an
water.
adult, yeah, and they're throwing like a tantrum, or like they're completely out of their mind, they're like in some kind of frenzy, and you just can't get them back, and they're just going and going, and like it keeps on going around in circles, and they can't come down. To do something completely like out of order, like unusual, like I don't know, throwing a glass of water, unless you do that every day to them, but clapping your hands, singing a song, or just doing something totally like wacko, out of order, that will then actually trigger them to come out of their frenzy and to come back in a moment. but I guess those are extreme situations. But it's a great question actually. Like as I talk, like I try to think of moments when I had to try to, or when I noticed that somebody was, was gone, sometimes even while talking, but to try to bring them back, like in a not like in such a rough way, but like in a loving way.
I know a lady in Calgary. Her name is Suze Casey, and she is an author, and she is published through Hay House. So she's a decent author, and she's a very very smart person. She used to be a nurse, and she noticed that people were reacting better if they drank water. Like if you're stressed out or angry or losing your temper, she said that a lot of the time it has to do with like the lack of water, and she has a whole theory about it. Her theories are very cool. I love her. Her book is Belief Repatterning. We should gather all these links and put them down below. And Belief Repatterning and your conscious communication. Was that what it was?
Art of Communication, I think it was, right? The book that you mentioned, Michael.
Oh, the art of communication, or communicating.
I know this is the second time you mentioned this book, so I definitely think we should share it.
Yeah, it's one I listen to regularly.
Nice. One thing that came to my mind to bring people in the present that seems to work. Well, it works with me is like to do something funny, even if it's just a joke or so. But that's like it's hard to laugh about something that and not to be present. So that's something that puts me back in the present. And then even playing capoeira as well. So I noticed, that's something that puts me in the present, like being in front of somebody and having a bunch of people around singing and making music and all the energy, and then having somebody in front of you that, throws kicks at you and challenges you like physically. So that's something that forces me to be in the moment, because, you can't be thinking or philosophizing about something else. So I think that's one of the joys for me, in that, like, you have to be present in that very moment. And then the challenge in that case would be, not only to react in patterns, but to be creative in a moment. So maybe creativity also can be something to challenge somebody else to be creative, whether it's through language or, through, well, whatever, any creative expressions that we could trigger in them. That might be something also to, to pull them back into the present moment.
Well, and the thing you were talking about yesterday, Michael, the journaling, I think that's something that kind of brings people into the present moment in a way by removing noise.
Yeah, I would consider journaling a form of meditation, really. I mean, if you're spending any time thinking about what you're going to write, it is kind of a form of and a path towards meditating.
Right, because it pulls you in the moment too, right? If you're putting on paper what you feel in this moment, or what you're looking forward to, or what just what the day brought for you, in terms of whether it's the positive or the negative. But then you're really focusing on what is happening with you, whether it's on the outside or inside in that moment, and bringing something to paper itself is like, it seems to have some magical power, right? Like whether it's something that you wish, or whether you would like to express, even writing to somebody else, whether you send it off or you don't send it off, but just expressing your gratitude, or saying sorry, and just putting that down on paper physically, that seems to really trigger some shift.
I used to do a lot of the burning exercise, where you write down sometimes negative thoughts, and sometimes the things that bother you, or sometimes the things that you want to create in your life, and then you burn the piece of paper and you watch it burn, and it's very cathartic too, because it somehow releases the attachment. Whether it's something positive or negative, there's still an attachment to it, right? And to release that attachment and allow it to happen somehow, I think that's very cool.
It's true.
But I also think that we can't like when we're talking about the power of the present moment, right? And learning in Autonomy, we're learning about fail faster, fail forward. You know what I mean? The failure is not detrimental. Your failures are your path to success. So as you fail and correct your, some people would say, we had some mistakes in the show before, but you know what I mean? Like we're correcting them, and we're working toward making a show that's actually good. So the same thing we can do with our lives, but in our real lives there are so many distractions. There's the TV and the phone and all of that, and that all pulls us off our path. So how can we bring all of this stuff that's happening in our lives, the failures, the successes, the TV, all this distraction, and bring it together so that we can really focus on the present moment and what it can do for us?
That is a really good question. Let me know, because I have like all children to add into that as well, and groceries and cleaning and all of that to add into that as well. I do my moment of awareness is things I put up around the house to remind me. So I get tired, I get hungry, I get stressed. Those things wear me down. And then I go back to baseline stuff that I've learned in childhood that's really not really effective at all. And it's kind of, if I'm tired and I don't have the energy, I kind of just start to act out. And I'm like, oh, hang on, this is going to be end up in a situation I don't want to be in. And so it's just, I have to kind of step back and just like go, okay, all right, I'm just going to stop for a bit. I have like, well, that's what I was asking you guys about, the one goal for this year. I can show you guys how I do it. So I have one goal. Maybe I should show it to you. Hold on.
And there she goes. She's gone just like that. Oh, she's back.
I'll see how this goes.
Keep talking so it switches to you.
Okay, did it click in? No, now it is. That is
Connectedness. Connectedness.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Connectedness. Yeah, and it's been my goal for like I don't know, a couple of years now. I'm going to make it for this year as well, because it just, every time I write them out, it's always the same themes, and I'm just like, okay, it may be this forever, but it's something that I want to achieve at the moment. And so I have that around my house, and just to remind me, like if I'm in a bit of a huff because I'm tired and I've got like tons of laundry to do, it's not like I'm okay with it. It's more just like, that's just life. I'm still kind of building that connectedness, make some meaning out of it. I don't know, make a tower or something and see how high I can stack the tiles before they fall over. I don't know, something fun.
It's like that
I
thing.
love that. Yeah.
No matter how enlightened you get, chop wood, carry water.
Yeah. It reminds me, well, I thought that came up a while ago when I saw it. I really enjoyed your reminder there. The connectedness, is that something that you're working on? Is that something that you don't have, that you have to strive to get? Or is it something that's already there that you just have to remember or realize that it's already there? So that is to the question I had, like for me, what is cutting through, what I use often to really cut through when I'm stressed, when I'm getting tired, when I'm overwhelmed, is like that I keep on asking myself, like, oh, who is stressed, who is overwhelmed, who is sad, who is angry, or who is happy? Who is that really? And then is it my body, is it my thoughts, is it my mind, is it my emotions? Who really is that? And some questions, some of the essential questions, they probably cannot even be answered, but the importance is not to answer them, but the importance is to ask them, because something happens if you ask certain questions within you, and even if it's just a switch in perspective. So when I ask myself that, who is tired, or who is angry, or who is getting upset again, it's like, so it like it's a different perspective that I gain from that on myself, because there's something within me that questions, like an emotion that I have. So it's not I am not overwhelmed, but I'm feeling overwhelmed. I am not angry. I am not the anger, because something is beyond the anger that asks, oh, who is angry? And that something is not is beyond it, you know. So it's like, so that makes me look at myself like with different eyes. It's like not the, oh my god, you're angry again and you're overwhelmed, you can't get it done and you're so bad and you this, oh, but oh, there's something within me that's not tainted by that. And so it puts it's like being a little more kind to yourself, and more often than not, like I see myself, I see myself, well, I see me treating myself worse than anybody else. So it's like, you know, the negative self-talk that we have, and that's like a little tool that I use as often as I can, and as I remind myself about it, to kind of cut through and realize that, you know, it's not everything, it's not all of me that is angry right now, that is upset, or that, you know, that didn't get the job done, or didn't get all the hooks crossed out of the list. So there's something beyond that, and that connectedness that you're talking about is, it's similar. Like I feel it's really something that's there already, because really and truly I feel that we already are connected in so many ways. And but like Agnieszka, you were pointing out, like we distracted ever more so, and there's the cell phone, and there's the friends, and there's, I don't know, you know, this and that, all the little distractions that are there, and then there's family, and there's the job, and then we have to keep afloat, and then there's the bills, and so it's so easy to get distracted. And it's often hard not to get lost and not to lose ourselves. And so we need a little anchor, you know, that pulls us back from time to time, and putting up, you know, those reminders, those papers, as you know, as silly as sometimes I feel, like, you know, putting up a little sticky note or putting something in my book or so, but these are the things, or just setting up a list, you know, a list of things that make me happy, a list of things that make me relax, because, you know, technically I know them, they're in my head, I know what makes me feel good, but, you know, if you not feel good, or if you're unhappy, then those are the last things that you will remember. So sometimes it's good to just put them up on the wall, and then to remember, oh, you know, if there's a list of 10 things, and I know, like, if I see them in front of my eyes, like, it's much more likely that I'm going to do 1, 2, or 3 of them, and that already does a little shift. And so, you know, I can kind of save myself from going down too far the ladder, the emotional ladder, so to say. But that connectedness, that's really something, you know, that's something fantastic to remember, like, every day, all day long, because really and truly we are connected. And because we are connected, I feel that our surroundings are a reflection of our inside, of our inside life, of our psyche, and vice versa as well. So if something is going wrong, which I don't think it is going wrong, that's just a label as well, whether we label it as going right or going wrong, but it has something to do with us, because we are connected to everything, whether it's the children, whether it's, you know, even every leaf that grows on the tree outside our house, that is also connected to us. So somehow we have an influence over that. And then I guess the goal is really to, by being in the moment, or by centering in the moment, it is to have an influence, and then impact on our surrounding, like a conscious influence and impact on our surrounding, that we then, you know, can somehow steer and accept it for what it is, without being totally and completely overwhelmed sometimes by the outside things that happen in our world.
That's right. That's what is the reminder for me. What was it like before I started doing like a 1 year ago? I used to have like a list of things that I wanted to do, and I used to do like monthly check-ins, and I tried all of that, and it just made me feel like I don't know, like marching or fighting, or I'm gonna get this goal, I'm gonna get angry at it and, you know, punch it out. And that was exhausting, doing all of that all the time. Whereas this, I can make it more like strategy. I can be more strategic. So when I know that I have the energy, and yeah, I really need to do something, and I need to put all I can to do it the best I can, I have all that energy there to do it. And then the rest of the time, I'm kind of like, just floating along. No, I guess with my goals, it's just like, oh, okay, I didn't do that today. Yeah, well, you know what? I really didn't really feel like it. I wanted to spend time with my kids and just do some weird stuff, like, I don't know, make a fort or something. So that's easier for me. Having that just one there just is light. Like, it's like a light goal for me.
Yeah.
And I can enjoy my life more. I don't have a lot of time that I can focus on myself a lot. And so having that one thing, I feel less selfish, and I feel like it's doable.
I can see how that could be integrated perfectly with what Mike was talking about. When journaling and kind of identifying our high and low times of the day or of the month or of the week even, and identify the time of the day or of the evening that we feel most empowered, or that we feel kind of like slowing down, because as we all go through cycles throughout the day, the month, the year, and then as you were pointing out, sometimes we like maybe are more in the more physical in our bodies, and like we feel like we have the energy and like a strong pull is there, and we have we can put out the energy, and that's something that motivates us, and we can go for it that way. And sometimes when we are, just as you were pointing out, when we're just where we cannot take that brute force, so to say, for lack of a better word, and we just feel like we need to address ourselves from a different perspective and in a more mellow, or like a more soothing way, and we have to find that's just reflecting the multifaceted being that we are, and the different stages that we are in, like throughout the day as well. And I think it would be great to have like a set of tools or strategies, as you were pointing out, according to our mood or to our present state, that we could then address. Like if we are overwhelmed or kind of tired, like it would be great to have a strategy or 2 or 3 strategies to choose from. Like, how can we approach it now? How can we continue to move forward and continue to feel that we are successful and that we are achieving, although we cannot put out the brute physical energy right now. And if we have a lot of energy, or we are at the high point of our day or our month, like how can we transform and translate that energy into something productive and something that brings us forward in life and closer to our goals.
And we always share different strategies on our show, right? Like every episode there are new strategies. But sometimes some of the techniques make me feel like I'm bound, like I'm in jail, like I'm tied up. Like no, I can't do this because it makes me like I understand the power of routine, but I'm also very resentful toward it. Does that make sense? So how do we overcome that initial, because it's like committing to a routine represents a level of losing freedom, right? You can't no longer sleep in or do whatever you want if you decided that your routine will be different, right?
But see, for me, that depends on the level of, it's like, well, how important is it? Like, I would say that hygiene is a good routine. Brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, going for a shower, they're all routine things, but they're important. So that's like, okay, yeah, that's a routine that I need to keep up.
Otherwise you smell bad. That's not a very good thing. I don't want to smell bad.
Well, that's I think that would describe essentially balance or harmony. There's a amount of routine that you have to have, but there's also an amount of creativity that you want to also be involved with. And unfortunately, I think creativity is the one that's been suffering in the modern world, even though we've got a lot of things that are supposedly technologically advanced and so forth, and we don't have to chop wood and dig for coal in mines and stuff anymore. For the most part, most of us don't have to do those kind of physically difficult tasks. But and so we do have a lot more mindful time, but unfortunately we spend way too much time doing things that are routine in nature, and we just kind of buzz through our days on this kind of circular motion.
Hey, wait a second. Really, are you saying my bad habits are also routine? Am I so predictable that I have bad habits that have become routine?
He's very quietly saying that, yes. And he's right. But he's right in what he's saying.
I don't like that at all.
Well, you're gonna have to be a little bit more creative, and that's kind of one of the things that I kind of hint at with the journaling exercise, is that every day can be something new, and really that's the opportunity to challenge yourself and kind of see if you can actually do new things every day. And so, but I do think that you're right. You're noticing something that I think is really important, and that is creativity is something that we really can energize us and make our lives so much better because we're really drawing from something that we're really kind of unfamiliar with, but it is like the power within ourselves to really derive from, that outer, whatever that energy is that's all around us. We're kind of, when we're doing something creative, we're really pulling in that, pulling in a little bit of our portion of that.
But there are traps for our creativity. One way, like, you can express your creativity through music or art or even cooking. But one of the things that I sometimes do is like play games on my little phone or something, right? And it gives me an outlet to create. It's a false outlet to creativity. It gives you like the placebo of being creative without actually being creative. Does that make sense? Because you're going through some of the creative motions without actually creating anything. Somebody's already created it. You're just sort of pretending that you're creating.
It depends on the game. What's the game? For me, I like playing Plants vs Zombies because it's like if I just feel like I've been like working hard at something and it's just like I just keep getting knocked down. I'm just like, I just need to win. I need something to win, something that I don't have to really do. And so I do Plants vs Zombies, and it tricks my brain. And I'm just like, oh, it's okay. I'm good at something. So it depends on the game.
I like the games that have the little puzzle pieces and you have to figure out little puzzles. But again, I'm using it as an outlet to my creativity instead of sitting down and writing something from scratch or painting something from scratch or doing something that is mine and uniquely mine. I'm moving little pieces and allowing, it is a meditative thing. It does help, with organizing your thoughts. But at the same time, when am I using it to organize my thoughts, like where I'm just got too much going on? And when am I using it for an outlet to creativity that otherwise would have produced something? Like, it's that whole thing, moving from consumption to production. It's not production to move little blocks on the screen.
That's
To me,
very good. Go ahead.
To me, what came up
I feel
is
like we've just circled back to mindfulness now. That's really funny.
to me, what came up is the question: is it possible to enter the present moment through routine? And also, is it possible to enter the present moment through spontaneous creativity? And although many times it's like a lot of people say A or B, but I feel more times than not in life it was a as well as B. So I don't think one actually contradicts the other. So even with that question, from my perspective, I can see how it's totally possible to enter the present moment and to harness the power of the present moment, to harness the power of the day by having a routine, through routine. Even looking at natural processes like we mentioned, like cyclical things that happen throughout the day, the month, the year, our lives. Breathing itself is a cycle. You could maybe look at that also as a routine. I was reminded about when you were talking about routine earlier, about like many years back when I was doing karate, and there was like a set routine, how you enter the dojo, like a routine, how you would greet, how like a certain etiquette that was there, and that was something really powerful. And it definitely was something that shifted. That was beyond just the physical, and it doesn't even have to be something like that with a outside etiquette. But if you look at, you might look at somebody sweeping the streets, and just it's not what he or she does, but how they do it. And there's rhythm in it, there's routine in it, and like I can totally see how somebody could really enter the present moment through routine. And at the same time, it could be something that's just done for the sake of routine, without like any consciousness or any presence in it. So although routine doesn't mean that there is no presence in it, so I guess maybe that's the key, that to be in the routine, but to be present within the routine. And that's like how through routine, how in that moment routine is not something how like stagnant, but it's still alive. It's not something, and I felt that's what you were getting at, Agnieszka, earlier when you said routine, it's kind of limiting me, it's limiting my freedom. But I think in that moment when there's presence within the routine, it can be something liberating as well. And on the other hand, when you talk about creativity or spontaneous action, spontaneous creativity, then there's also presence in that. But also if it's just spontaneous creativity without something else added to it, then it also it might not lead to anywhere tangible, or it might not help you to progress any further. But there's something, there has to be, well, spontaneously also already like implies that there's presence in the morning, but in the action that's being done, but there has to be a connection to the present moment, right? Like the creativity, however you express yourself,
Well,
it
so
has to relate
how
to
do you guys
the
know?
surrounding.
How do you guys know that you're making progress? Like, we're talking in these theories, right? But how do you know that you're actually making progress? Don't all speak at once.
I think it's based on what your goal is, and then kind of the milestones that you set for yourself, and maybe the tasks that you need to accomplish. There's different ways of creating metrics, and that's certainly another mental exercise that people can go through. But yeah, I think there's milestones that I would suggest doing that. But I wanted to say something about what Dennis brought up there in regard to routines. I think it is actually, there's a quote from the Open Source Everything Manifesto that I really like. It says, "The evolution of evolution is the transition from unconscious to conscious choice." And what you were talking about is really, our life is really routines, and that's what I was suggesting earlier, is that our mind kind of always falls back into that kind of pattern of like just making a subconscious routine so that it can save energy. And so it is, what are our choices that we're making in our life to actually, to the routines that we do have to accomplish every day, and essentially our body settles into as we go through our day. If we make a conscious choice about those, if we use our creativity and so forth, I think we can. I think we can get both, and I think that's really where we're maximizing.
How do you know you're on track, Dee?
How do I know? I just keep the reminders up for myself. I have my.
But how do you know where to go? Like, how do you make that mental choice of what is your goal for? Like, that's what I'm wondering, because so many people are just lost and they don't know what the next step is. And how do you figure out what the next step is so that you have something to actually work towards?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about, okay, so that's my one goal, and these are how I'm fulfilling those one goals. Underneath these, let's say I've got a document. Underneath these, I have things that I want to tick off throughout the year that I do want to achieve. And I will, some months I'll look at it and I'll just be like, yeah, I did okay. And then other months I'll be like, no, I really, really do want to achieve this one thing this month. Let's say friends could be, I think a couple of years ago, I put a list there that I wanted to ring friends, make sure I had a list of friends I would ring, and I would make sure that I would ring them every month.
Phone them every month.
Call them, phone them, but not actually message them or email them. No, actually talk to them on the telephone. And that was good. I maintained that for a while. But then I lost interest because it was so much work to do it, because people just don't really communicate like that these days. But I still enjoyed it. It's something that I do like doing, but I don't do it every month, and I don't kind of beat myself up if I haven't, like I said, punched through it and kind of done it that month. If I feel like it, then yeah, I'll be like, yeah, this month is the month. It's my phone call month.
Nice.
Did that answer your question? I don't know.
More or less.
Yeah, that was great. It was great.
I think we could delve deeper, and I see all this stuff we should talk about on other things like mindfulness and whatever Michael was talking about. We should do a whole episode on a bunch of these topics because this is.
You're just picking on him because he's making you do routine stuff.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. He's brilliant, and this is obviously he's brilliant. So I want like take all the content he's talking about and make stuff out of it. I think it's awesome. Dennis, how do you know where you're going in life and where you're coming from?
Where I'm coming from, where I'm going, and where I'm. Well, I would say it depends on what level you're asking, right? So if the goal is to run 100 meters, then then you set your goal and you define the goal. The goal is I pass the finish line in 100 meters. So and then you set the marking points or marking stones, I think, as you said before. So there's
Milestones?
a milestones. So there's what a 10 meter, 50 meter, and then you pass those, and you're okay. I've achieved half of it, a third of it, whatever it is, and then you can gauge it by that. So so the thing is, then it really depends on the goals that we are setting, in order to gauge if you made progress. Like as a personal trainer, as a fitness trainer, I want to ensure that if somebody comes with a goal of, okay, I want to lose this weight, I want to gain weight, I want to be stronger, I want to work on my back, I want to get rid of the pain, I want to be more relaxed, so whatever it is that so you define the goals, and then you make a plan. Basically the plan there's certain specific strategies that you might have to design the plan, taking into consideration different factors like the age, the size, the equipment that you have, the time that is available to achieve those goals, and then you help the client to achieve the goals. And then just like with the running, also like halfway through or like after a month, after a certain amount of time, you recheck again, you weigh, you measure, and you figure out if you're still on track. And if not, as we said before, you have to adjust. So it's a continuous adjusting as well. Just you're driving from A to B, and then there's the steering wheel, and you continuously have to adjust a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, in order to kind of stay in the middle of the road, because the road is not like a straight line either. So I would say to determine progress is really you want to have a goal, and then depending on if it's like something in the physical realms, if it's something on the emotional level or in the mental level, then you would have to be specific in terms of setting, what's halfway there. Okay, I know this and that will have to happen, and then also take into consideration that even the goal itself might change, on the way, or maybe like halfway through you figure out, oh, that actually, like, I've shifted totally, and that's not even so important for me, like now it's something else. Or in the process of achieving goal A, something more important came up, or something was revealed to you, or you actually you changed your views, your perspective, and then you adapt again and you would adjust again. So I think it's important to retain that ability of continuously like rechecking, like checking in with yourself, or how is it going, how am I feeling? And that would be the answer also to the question, like, how do I know if I'm on track? This is like continuously to check with myself. Is like what are like the physical reactions that I get, like if something's bad is about to happen, or if I don't like something, what exactly is it? Somebody, like one person might get like a funny feeling in the stomach, another one might get tense up like in the shoulders. Like we have different reactions to situations that cause us stress. Somebody might start to eat a lot. Somebody, if they're under stress, they might stop totally eating. So it's really about knowing yourself and finding out about yourself. And I think the beauty of the challenges that are given to us on a daily basis is that they ultimately challenge us to reconnect with our true self, and to find out what triggers us, and how do we react to certain stimuli that are there, that life is throwing us at us at all time. And it challenges us to continuously adjust until we feel that we are on track. And that itself also, we have to determine, how does that feel? How do we feel physically? What kind of thoughts come up? What kind of feelings come up if we are on track? And for myself, like, I had a few really special moments like in my life where I was like in a state that I could only try to describe with words. So that for me, so those like marking moments in my life that really were beyond anything that I have experienced before. These are moments that I use to gauge also if whether I'm on track or not. So this it was like a feeling or a state like
Yeah,
of
just
complete
it's
harmony
hard to just
and peace.
if you're going to use to describe it, just describe a situation of how it would feel. Like, oh, it was like, I don't know, like that feeling you get when you look at a sunset and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's breathtaking.
Yeah,
Maybe that could help.
What I'm getting out of this
right.
conversation is that if you are not reaching towards something, like if a person is reaching towards something, they know whether they're moving in that direction or not. But if they're not reaching toward anything, they may be lost and not knowing where they're going. Does that make sense?
How do they know if they're lost? How do they know if they're
Well,
lost?
see,
And who is
I'm thinking about, what I'm thinking about is people who are like, falling into the trap of the television and not striving to better themselves. Like, why are people not, why do some people not try to better themselves? It's because they don't have a clear idea of what they want to do, where they want to go. And why would that be? And that's very common. A lot of my clients come up to me and, I just don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I'm wanting a coach, because I want to know where I'm going. But in reality, it doesn't matter if you go in and they're also attached to the right thing. Like, oh, I have to go in the right direction. Is this the right direction? But what Dennis just said, it doesn't matter if it's in the right direction, because if you discover that it's slightly off, you can readjust the course. Every single day, you can readjust the course and create a better direction.
And also,
to me, it's go, Mike.
I would call that what it's called the Udo Lute. It's OODA. Observe, orient, decide, act, and then feedback. And you just then repeat it again. But I just also wanted to add that sometimes people don't like goals, and sometimes they just want to be. Maybe it's just simply being a better person than they were yesterday. And how do they go about doing that? Well, that could be something that they institute into their daily practices, something that they can creatively add to their day. That if they can add it, then they see the progress that they have in themselves, and especially if it's something that's meaningful to them. If it's something that it's somebody that they want to be or somebody that they want to emulate. Maybe it's one of their siblings or their grandfather or something they wanted to be like, and they want to adopt something from them in themselves, and then being able to identify what that is, and then how can they practice that on a daily basis is a way that they can start to, at first, just kind of chip away at it. But after a while, if they keep going, they start to become who they want to be.
Yeah, and it's something that you as a coach, as a teacher, as a guide, you can never do that for anyone else. You cannot tell anybody, oh, this is the right way, this is the wrong way. Like, this is a true guide, a true teacher will always lead you back to yourself. Like people that make you dependent on them, that's not, in my view, that's not a true teacher, that's not a true guide. So in the end, they always will guide you back to yourself. So oftentimes I feel that it's comfort. It's like, oh yeah, I need somebody. You, please, I pay you some money. Tell me where to go. Is it left? Is it right? And it's not simple as that. It's like sometimes you have to kick people's backside, for them to take self-responsibility for their own life, for their own being. And I'm all for, supporting them and leading them there and empowering them as well. But in the end, the empowerment and the encouragement and the motivation that people are seeking is something that in the end will lead them back to themselves. Because if you have somebody who, just going back to the physical, fitness training and so on, who wants to get fit and who wants to get up and so, and like, I might pull off a show and do some whatever, like animate them in any funny ways, but there's going to be sooner or later, there's going to be a moment where that's not going to do it. And sooner or later, they're going to be stuck with themselves again and fall back in their old patterns. And then if you wouldn't have, done something to provoke a shift on the inside, or to give them a perspective that allows them to look at themselves from a different perspective than before, then they will just, drop right back to where they started at. So in the end, it has to, we have to empower people by seeing themselves in a different light. That's how I feel, because a true guide, a true teacher will always guide the student back. And I don't feel like that's something I told the children in Jamaica all the while, like my students there. It's like, I brought a little food here, the little thing that I know about capoeira, and I'm happy to put it on the plate and I share it with you. What I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna force you to sit down and eat it, and I'm not gonna force feed you. I'm not gonna force and push it down your throat. If you're hungry, come sit down. Like, I share my food with you and I help you eat it, and even show you how to eat it and how to get it, and I will share everything I have with you. It's like, if you, if the path I'm on, if that's something that you like, that you enjoy, and you feel that's good for you, come walk with me, like walk beside me. You don't have to walk behind me, or, but I'm not going to carry my shoulders, because there's many more that also want to walk that path. So I can't carry everyone. Like, if I put all of you on my shoulders, like I'm not going to go anywhere, and then, where we're going to go. So it's like, come walk with me, like hand in hand beside, and then, we reach where we want to go together, supporting each other. But people have to see the value of what you offer as well, and of the experience, of the skills that you bring to the table. And if they can't see the value, then they won't value it, and then also they won't have a motivation to invest, not even money, but to invest themselves, and to make a move, and to fall out of their learned patterns, so to say.
You guys, we're out of
really
time.
liked that.
Did you guys know we're out of time?
No.
It's been an
I knew it
hour.
was
But I
getting
really
close, but it went really quick.
It went really quick.
It's true.
What did you want to say? Closing remarks. Let's do it. Deirdre.
Oh, Dennis can have it. No, Dennis can have. I just when he said, "Oh well, if they don't value what you're offering, then they won't even be motivated to commit." That was that moved me. I liked that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Michael, closing remarks.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll second that one. That was a very beautiful statement. I really feel that's why you're such a great coach, such a great
You
person.
guys are all awesome. Dennis, closing remarks.
Well, I have to say, I do feel like I'm in the present moment right now. I feel this was a wonderful co-creation. This is a moment that we have been co-creating together, all of us. Like, none of us could have done it alone. And I feel really honored again to have been able to share this moment with you. And I feel connected, and therefore, yes, I have achieved my goal, I can say, because I am here right now with you. So yeah, thank you so much for that, and looking forward to next time.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad that we did this. This was awesome. Next week, 3 more episodes, Mondays and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, and Wednesdays at, 2 p.m., right?
2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern, right? So we'll get this right soon. And if you're only coming in at the end of this episode, just go back to the beginning. This was a fun discussion. I really enjoyed it, and so did all my co-hosts. Have a great.
What's the topic for next week?
You know what? I didn't look it up. We'll tell them on Sunday.
Okay. All right.
I think it's more about getting things done, because January is all about getting things done. So it's going to be more about getting things done, more tips about harnessing the power of your life and bringing the power back to yourself, and not allowing, the external factors to dictate what you do with your day and your life. That's basically the focus for January. So there will be more of that. Anyway,
awesome.
Thank you very much to everybody who was listening, and I appreciate everybody very, very much.